What do you do when you live in a time of rapid technological advancement, economic uncertainty, and shifting workplace dynamics? What you do is learn how to think like an entrepreneur. Why? Because entrepreneurs are the ones who thrive in these types of conditions of uncertainty. They are able to anticipate change, they can pivot when necessary, and they can turn challenges into opportunities. So, being an entrepreneur and thinking like an entrepreneur goes beyond starting a company. It is more like a life skill that will help you successfully navigate your career. By a show of hands, for as much as I can see in the dark here, how many of you have a concrete plan after graduation? Okay, some of you do, and some of you don't. And this is very typical of what my students tell me when I ask this question in the classroom. Myself, I had just making sure that, all right, myself, I had a great plan. I wanted to be a teacher. And the path to getting there is quite straightforward. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I knew what I needed to do to get there, so I was set. My mom even agreed. She said this was a great path for a woman because it would allow me the flexibility to take good care of my children. I was 8. Anyway, I had a good knack for languages as well, and Spanish in particular, so I decided, hey, I could be a Spanish teacher. Thank you, Mexican telenovelas. They were my real Spanish 101. Gracias. So I started in Spanish and Latin American Studies right here at the University of Waterloo. I love my Spanish classes. They were great. But I became very, very interested in what happens in our heads when we learn another language. How does this new language interact with the languages we already have there? So what do you do when you obsess over these kinds of questions? I'll tell you what, you do a PhD. So what do? I pivot from my teacher's college plan to go do a PhD in Hispanic linguistics. You might think, not a big shift, you're still going to be a teacher. True, also a researcher, and they'd call me a doctor, so I call it an upgrade. But wait for it. Once I got into my PhD, 3 years into it, I met someone with a background in natural language processing and machine learning. So what happened was that he had built this really cool technology that I didn't really understand much about, but I did know that if we brought our skills together, we could build a solution for people who are trying to learn a foreign language so that they can be more successful and more quickly acquire it. So that is when I took a big risk in my career, and at the end of my 3rd year of PhD, I dropped out to become a startup founder and CEO. Perhaps one of the most riskiest and underpaid jobs out there. So I became an entrepreneur. I learned how to do things on the fly. I learned how to raise money from wherever I could, rally people towards my idea or my business, although I could pay them hardly anything, get past so many no's and you're crazy that I lost count of. That said, this experience as a startup founder and entrepreneur, although I had to step away from it a few years into it, has shaped my way of thinking towards how to view your career and how to look at your career as a whole. I took this entrepreneurial mindset and the relationships that I have built during this time to take on the next steps in my career. So I started another business. It was a language exchange program for international students coming to Canada. I also worked for an organization that provided industrial internships for PhD students at universities to get the experience outside of academia. I also worked with large corporations building research partnerships in order to help them innovate. I also worked at a startup helping North American and European companies hire tech talent from around the world. So my experience as a startup founder has really influenced my mindset as an entrepreneur across my career. So why am I telling you all this? Because when I look back at my career, I truly feel a big sense of fulfillment. And honestly, it's a great feeling that everybody should experience. And that's why I'm telling you this today, because I hope all of you are going to feel very fulfilled by the work that you do. So having that entrepreneurial mindset in my career has allowed me to make decisions and pursue opportunities based on interest and based on chance to grow versus job security. It has allowed me to meet people across many different spectrums and also meet people who, to this day, are still my inspiration and my mentors. So, adopting an entrepreneurial mindset will help you navigate the uncertainties of life in a way that will lead to a fulfilling career. I fully believe that. So, how are you going to do this? Well, I have a few practical examples that hopefully will get you excited and show you that it's not that hard if you set your mind to it. So, first, learn to adapt. In a world that is constantly changing, adaptability is not an option. You have to learn not only to go with the flow, but also thrive in a time of constant change. So here I'm going to actually share an example that is of a student that continues to be an inspiration for me. Just like you, he came to University of Waterloo a number of years ago as an engineering student. So he was studying engineering, and as you all know, it's a demanding degree. However, he had a passion for design and soccer. So a year or so into his degree, he found a way to build this interest that he had into a project, and he was helping semi-professional soccer players here in Ontario to build a brand for themselves. That passion project grew into a business that started to take a lot more of his time and obviously interfering with his engineering degree. He also happened to come from an immigrant family that very much valued education, and dropping out of school wasn't an option. So what did he do? He adapted. What he did was he went into a general arts degree, which allowed him a lot more time to work on his business and get a degree to make his parents proud. So that is one example of being adaptable for someone that is in your shoe, that was in your shoes, the shoes that you are today. Another tip or advice that I have is to embrace risk. And honestly, risk has bad PR. When people say risk, you think, oh, bet all your money, lose all your money, your house, or whatever. But the truth is, that's not really what risk is. We have to make risky decisions based on unknown factors all the time in our career. So get comfortable with that. I personally follow Reid Hoffman's ABZ plan. If you haven't heard about it, Google it. It's a great, if you're my students, you heard from it, because we read this in the classroom. My plan Z, when I dropped out of my PhD to start a company, was, well, to go back to doing my PhD. I didn't really want to do that, because by third year, I realized that that really wasn't my thing. I wasn't really into research. But knowing that I could always go back there to finish it gave me that reassurance that I could make that risky decision at the time that I needed to make that decision. So find your plan Z, and don't shy away from making risky decisions when you need to make them. Next, be a lifelong learner. You know, we live in a knowledge-based economy. Lifelong learners will always be rewarded. When I co-founded my company, like I said earlier, I had no idea about Python. Python was the language that we were using to build the product that I was trying to sell. So not knowing anything about Python put me in a really difficult position when it came to talking to my tech team. So I had to learn Python. That wasn't going to stop me. So I learned Python not to become a coder. I learned Python so that I can get enough knowledge of it so I can efficiently communicate to my tech team and ask them to do what I wanted them to do or understand what was impossible. So don't miss out on opportunities just because it has a requirement that you don't know how to do. Learn it. Opportunities to learn today are plentiful. All right, look for opportunities. And by this, I mean when you're on a job, co-op job, part-time job, when you're volunteering somewhere, even right here at the university, like all these students organizing this event today. Look for opportunities to bring value. Look for inefficiencies. Find problems that need to be solved and offer to solve them. This is what's going to make you stand out. Don't, sit there and ignore the problem and just do what fits into your job description. Next, advice that I have is to develop relationship. And those of you who are my students and are here today, I say this a lot in the classroom, but I really mean it, so I will repeat it here today. Hardly ever in your lifetime after university will you be in a situation where you are surrounded by hundreds of people, literally all day, every day. These people you hear are each other's network. Take the time to know each other, really talk to each other, understand what everyone's up to, add each other on LinkedIn or social media or whatever it is, and stay connected. All of you will go on to do cool things in life, and when you do them together, they're even cooler and more impactful. So as uncomfortable as it is, meet people, really do, talk to them. And lastly, develop a personal brand. This one is extremely important because how you present yourself, your skills, and your unique qualities will always influence your career trajectory. 66% of employers are going to research a candidate before they do an interview. 1 in 2 employers also will pass on a job offer if they see content that they do not like about you online. So take charge of what people see online when it comes to you. Talk about what you want people to see. Put the content that you want employers to see. And if this isn't convincing enough, I wanted to also say that employers selfishly are interested in employees with strong brands because guess what? People or customers, right, are going to try to trust other people, you, more than they will trust a company brand. So there is research to show that when an employee with a strong brand shares something that their company is doing, it will get 500% more engagement than it would if the company shared that same message. So really, it is also in their interest for you to have a personal brand. So I hope you're as excited as I am. We live in a truly exciting time of opportunity. Think about it. It is in your hands to define your path, choose your career, and do what you want to do. Nobody is going to give you a prescribed path and force you to fit into a box. So get in the driver's seat, take action, and live your best lives. And when in doubt, don't forget that in a changing world, playing it safe is the riskiest thing you can do. Thank you.